I personally don't believe in the man in the sky or a life after death where our personal consciousness survives. But I do believe there is a power greater than ourselves that calls us to awaken our consciousness and our conscience. And I do believe in life before death, that we have the power to make heaven or hell right here on earth. And our purpose is to do all we can to better our piece of the planet. But this is not a job for sissies, is it? We are living in a world where the god of wealth and materialism is worshipped by many, and the results have been catastrophic. An economic earthquake has affected all of us. Pension funds shrunken, jobs lost, homes taken away. The pain experienced is inconceivable. And as usual, those who are poor are suffering the most. Now, I have trouble wrapping my brain around all of this. Here we are, the wealthiest nation in the world, but we are also the most unequal of all advanced nations with the highest rate of poverty. We rank the third worst in adult functional literacy, 29th in life expectancy, and 34th in infant mortality. We also have the world's highest imprisonment rate. Now, you may have seen the Post article last week explaining that 3 out of 10 children in Washington, D.C. were living in poverty last year. That's hard to believe. But with the number of poor African American children at 43%, right here in our city where we live, the so-called political capital of the world, is just inconceivable. One economist described these at, well, let me tell you something else first. Meanwhile, the top 1% of Americans own almost 50% of privately held investment capital in the nation. One economist described these as medieval numbers, and I would emphasize the evil. There is no moral or practical justification for these levels of inequality. When inequality becomes the norm, then our system is in crisis, since capitalism works only when wealth, income, and opportunity are distributed fairly. And yet today, the rich are trying to convince the rest of us that they deserve large tax cuts so that they can become even richer. Now, there's also a more personal and spiritual impact to the worship of the golden calf. The loss of people's net worth has taken a toll of our self-worth. For many people, self-worth is largely defined by what we own and how much money is in the bank. If making money is our purpose, then it's humiliating when we don't. We feel bad about ourselves, and when our worth is diminished, there's a tendency to diminish the world of those we don't agree with. This anger has turned into a nastiness and even hatred that has caused our civil discourse to spiral down into something akin to a sewer system. As painful as this crisis is for many, it's also been an opportunity for some people to discover their self-worth beyond what they own and spend. These folks have decided to live by the old Shaker hymn, "'Tis a gift to be simple, 'tis a gift to be free." In a recent book titled Radical, Taking Back Your Faith with the American Dream, David Platt suggests that people cap their lifestyle by living as if you made $50,000 a year and give everything else away. Now, we may not be able or willing to take such a radical step, but we can begin moving towards a simpler and more generous lifestyle. As the Christian activist Jim Wallace says, we must learn again that true freedom lies between a dull, bleak, deprived life and one of opulence and greed, where credit cards are our chains and debt is our prison. Politically, we need to remember the lesson of Native Americans who made important decisions by asking how the outcomes would affect the people in the land for this next 7 generations. Just think how that would change all of our policies if we held that in our minds and hearts. And we need to hear the message from both Mother Earth and the financial markets that the whole growth model we've created is unsustainable economically and ecologically. There are certainly many who believe, like Gertrude Stein, that whoever said money can't buy happiness didn't know where to shop. Well, instead of worshiping this golden calf of consumerism, we need to move to a relational model where people are valued more than possessions and meaning is valued over materialism. Now, we can do this by building community and developing deeper relationships with those around us and those who are different than us in lifestyle and class and religion. It's a radical act to be relational, to be willing to listen and speak from the heart. Now, we are attempting to become a more relational church by having one-on-one conversations with others in our congregation as a way of creating community. We're asking all of our committees, task forces, and teams to begin their meetings with one-on-one conversations with each person taking 3 minutes to answer a question. And this month's question is this: what do you value most of all in your life? What do you value most of all in your life? Now, that could go a lot longer than 3 minutes, but you can start with 3 minutes and see how that goes. And I want to invite all of you today, after church service, during coffee hour, and before the congregational meeting, just find one person that you can get together with and have this one-on-one answering that question. 3 minutes for one person, 3 minutes for the other person. I guarantee you'll enjoy it. Don't be shy. Just go ahead and do it. Now, to be relational is to be religious. The first commandment calls us to open our hearts to the holy. That is, to experience within our deepest selves our unity and oneness with the interdependent web of existence. That's the first commandment. The second commandment is more of a reminder that when we genuinely experience this unity, then we can't help but become aware of the inherent worth and dignity of every person and to feel a universal love of all of creation. This is only natural. Our kindness and compassion flows naturally from that first commandment into the second. Now, this is not only our purpose as human beings, but I believe it's the best definition of Unitarian Universalism. The experience of unity, that is Unitarianism, leads us to a universal love of all creation, universalism. This is our vision, not merely realized in our lives and our world, but it's a vision we can move towards step by step. Yes, we really are on a mission from God, folks, if you want to put it that way, but I prefer saying it's a mission from life. It's a call to be the breath of life, as Reverend Carlton called it last Sunday, to choose to stand on the side of love, to walk side by side with Jesus of Nazareth and Gautama Buddha and Mahatma Gandhi and Susan B. Anthony and Martin Luther King Jr. and Clara Barton and so many others who have gone before us, sacrificing their freedom and even their lives so that this breath of life, of goodness, will not cease and the light of peace and justice will never go out. We are called to shun the golden calf of consumerism and to value people over possessions and meaning over materialism. We are called to build the kingdom of God, the beloved community, heaven on earth, right here where we stand, or where we sit, in our souls, our homes, our community, our world, and right here in this church. I invite you to join us in this mission by living a simpler life, by becoming a more relational person, and by building a land and a church where justice shall roll down like the waters and peace like an ever-flowing stream.